All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome. Today is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. You are now watching Permission to Exist. I am your host, Permission to Exist, also known as PTE. Welcome. Okay, so first, we're going to start the show by taking accountability. I was on a pretty good streak. We did January, February, March. And things fell off a little bit, admittedly, because we are halfway through May and we had not done our April show. So this is actually our April show mixed with a little bit of what's been going on so far in May of this year. And I apologize for being late, but I had a very good reason for being delayed on the April show. And I will share that with you all on another or at another time, rather. So, welcome everybody. Welcome. It's been a while. It's good to see you guys. Good to see you here. I did miss you. I always do. Want to give a huge shout out to my Patreons. I have a couple Patreons, and I appreciate you guys because you hang in there with me even when I go silent. So, I appreciate you guys so much for supporting the channel. Believe me, it all helps and it all counts. So, thank you. CashApp, those of you who hit me up on CashApp, I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much. Super chats, super stickers, things of that nature. And also, obviously, liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, the easiest and the freest. And here, I'll make you guys a deal. If during the live show, anyone can actually guess why I was absent for April, I'll tell you. But if no one guesses correctly, I won't say anything until a later date. So that's a little game I'll throw in there for you guys. If anyone successfully guesses why I was gone, I will cop to it and I will tell you. But if not, you'll just have to wait. So, welcome everyone to the show. Hi, Dion. Welcome. Good evening to you too. And we already have a question. It says we talk about flying monkeys and how they further traumatize you by invalidation and what is the best thing to do. I certainly will. What I will do is I'll save your question till the end of the show. We'll cover our topics and then we'll get into that if that's okay with you. And wow, someone guessed it already. Good Lord. You people are psychic, man. You people are psychic. So, for those of you just listening and not reading the chat, the comment, I mean, wow, right out the gate. The comment says, you're getting a house. And I can't believe I'm telling you guys this because you've been with me on this journey for a long time, but I actually already got the house. I bought a house, you guys. Can you believe it? I still can't believe it. So, this is actually the first official show from the new house. So, I was going to wait a while to tell you guys, but I said, let me see if they can guess. And boom, right out the gate. So thank you so much. I can't believe it, y'all. It's still such a shock to me. Still such a shock. Yes, I still feel the same way about home buying and home purchasing. I can't even begin to tell you. Now that I've actually finally officially pulled it off, I have a gripe. I have a gripe session. I'm going to gripe. We'll do that on a separate show, but what I went through to get this house is absolutely stunning. And for me, it's just kind of like, how is anyone supposed to be able to buy a house if this is what they have to go through? Like, I consider it a miracle. I feel like I timeline jumped, but that's a whole different show, topic, and channel. Okay. That's a topic for a deeper PTE because I don't even feel like I'm in the previous timeline that I was in, but that's way deep. We'll talk about that another day on a different channel. But yeah, y'all, I can't believe it. I'm so happy. Thank you all so much. It says, I bet the fur babies love it. Let me tell you something. They are living in, I think, their version of heaven. Like, they are so happy. We have so much more space. I finally got my studio, y'all. You know how many times I've been like, oh my God, I need a studio. I need a studio with a door that I can close. I finally have my studio with a door that I can close. Hallelujah. So I'm in it right now. Okay. But I just feel so fortunate and so happy that I tried again because I had honestly reached a place where I was never going to try again, ever. I had decided I was just done with it because I had tried many times, like so many times, and came very, very close before. And I shared that story with you guys, I'm pretty sure, on a previous show. But I had come so close before and it got snatched out of my hands. And it actually devastated me and it radicalized me as well. But after that, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not doing it ever again. I'm not ever going to try again. And that was years ago. That was 2019 was the last time I actually tried sincerely. And so some different things happened, some different circumstances changed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try one more time. And if it doesn't work, I have a house to live in. It's a rental, but oh well, it's a home. And I'll just stay here for the rest of my natural life. But it didn't look like that was in the cards. So yeah, so that's why I've been gone. I've been moving. Man. Mm. Oh, and that's a whole, oh my God. Those of you who moved, I'm sure all of you have moved at least once in your life. It is just not fun. And whoever can invent the way to move easier, like the most efficient way to move, will be a multi-billionaire. But that's a different topic, different show. But thank you all so much. It's been amazing. I'm still unpacking, but I didn't want to make you guys wait till the end of May for the next show. So hopefully, what I'm hoping is that this will allow me to produce more content. Obviously, I can't promise that, but I am hoping that now that I have a little studio, I'm spread out, I got all my things where they need to be. You know, I've thrown all my boxes away that I've carried with me from place to place for years. I finally threw them away. So I'm hoping that this will allow the creative element in my mind and in my personality to re-emerge. That's what I'm hoping, because I'm not sitting around wondering how much is the rent going to go up? You know, when will I need to move again? But I'm not worried about those things right now. So maybe in that lack of worry, I can replace that with creativity. So let's hope, right? So thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's very exciting, very exciting. But the process itself is still completely unacceptable, and we'll talk about that. Now that y'all know, we can talk about it, because it just makes me so sad because I barely got this one, barely, like skin of my teeth. And I'm like, it shouldn't be this way. This should be like my third house. I should be on my third house. First one bought in the early 20s, sold maybe early 30s, stay in the early 30s, and then get to the early 40s. This should be my third house. It's the first one I've been able to pull off. So before I mess around and do that show, let's talk about all this stuff that's been going on, you guys. All this stuff. So much has happened that, like, I really tried, y'all, to capture it all, because I know that I've been gone and I've missed a lot. And there's so much, so many different topics that aren't related to each other. So I tried to capture it all. I know that so much more has happened other than what's on your screen right now. And it'll probably come out as we're going through conversation, right? But, you know, when you take 6 weeks off, this is what happens. So anything y'all want to talk about, we already have one question that came in. Any other questions that come in, please drop them in the Q&A portion of the chat, and I'll address them towards the end of the show. We'll probably be here a while. Ooh, okay. I see the question in the chat about that woman who raised all that money after sending that racial slur to that child. We'll talk about that. We live in an unbelievable time. So one of the reasons that I had a little bit of trouble like pulling topics for today, because I have been kind of keeping up, but when you're moving, you kind of, you know, lose track of things or whatever. But I just hate so much how Donald Trump is like at the center of everything. I hate it. And I had so many topics on my list that have something to do with him or deal with him or something he did or something he said. And I just hated it and I scrapped it. I actually started working on this last night. And I was like, I am not talking about that man this much. It just feels like a violation. Like you have totally inserted yourself into our lives to where we have like no choice but to talk about you all the time. And I hate that. I really hate that. So I'm trying to pull from other things that are going on other than him, because there is more to life than Donald Trump. Like, I hate that he happened to us so much, because literally for what has this been, like 10 years, if not longer? When did this start? When Obama was president? Is that when all this really started? When he first announced? Like, our lives have just been taken over by this man, and I hate it so much. So much. Like, I don't want to think about you this much. I don't want to talk about you. I don't want you impacting my life. I don't want you anywhere near me. I wish I didn't know who you were. Like, so I try to strip the topics of him. Obviously, he's going to come up because he is the narcissist that is in all of our lives right now and everyone associated with him. But I'm doing my best not to talk about this man that much. But it's hard to do when he's making decisions that actively impact and destroy other people's lives. It's hard to ignore you when you're dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, if you go out one weekend, like maybe bar hopping or something, and you see someone drunk, but they're kind of off to themselves, right? They're drunk, they're kind of falling over, they're laughing, they're having a good time. They're really only a danger to themselves, right? But if you see somebody drunk and they've got like a baseball bat in their hands and they're walking around bashing out car windows and store windows and swinging the bat at people, you can't ignore that drunk person, right? I mean, you can turn your back on them and be like, ugh, drunk, he's drunk, right? And then go about whatever you were doing. You can do that, but you've seen him swinging this bat and destroying things and swinging the bat at people. So it probably is in your best interest not to ignore that drunk. That's how I feel about Donald Trump. Like, I would love to just turn my back on you and be like, okay, you're just a drunk. Stay over there, stay over here. But you're a drunk with a dangerous weapon, which is power in this particular instance. You're a drunk with power. And that's dangerous. So we have to talk about you. And I hate that. I hate what our society has become. I really do. Like, I don't know that any of us could have envisioned this. I don't think any of us could have envisioned this for the future. So we'll go through it. Let's talk through our topics. I actually wanted to start the show by sharing a quote with you from a video that I watched recently. And I'll tell you, the video is called The Haunted Workplace, Spectral Capitalism and Dead Labor, which immediately hopped out at me. I was like, oh, tell me more. The Haunted Workplace, Spectral Capitalism and Dead Labor is the name of the video by Epic Philosophy, EPOCH, Epoch, I don't know, Epic. And I'll share the link to that with you guys in a second. And it's very, very good. I highly recommend you watch it. But here's the quote that stood out to me. He said, "We aren't just haunted by the past, but by the future and present we never had." Sorry, I'm reading the transcript, so there's no punctuation. "We aren't just haunted by the past, but by the future and present we never had. The meaningful careers, the expansion of individual freedom and liberty, the 15-hour work weeks with the massive increase in production." And he goes on and on and on. But what stood out to me was, we aren't just haunted by the past, but by the future and present we never had. And I feel like probably the generation that feels that way the most is probably the millennials. Because we came up, we were children, well, we were mostly teenagers as the technological revolution really started taking off. So we saw the transition in real time, like everyone else did who was alive. But we were at the forefront of like kind of using all the new tools and learning them and like incorporating them into our lives. So we had so much hope for what the future could be. Like, we had so many like visions and dreams about like where we're going with this life thing and this society thing and this modern thing and this technology thing. We had this huge vision, but it's like we are being held in place by psychopaths like Donald Trump and people that support him and believe that what he's doing is correct. That whole cohort. We are locked in, and that's basically kind of what this video is about, how we could be so much more, but we are basically being destroyed by the people who hold all this stuff in place. And it's like we are not being allowed to see the future that we were supposed to see. And that's possible. And it's like not even complicated things, simple things, easy fixes. We are being denied all of that because of a couple of psychopaths. So I'll link that video to you guys for those of you who want to see it. But I just thought that was so profound. And the whole thing was actually very, very good. So anyway, that said, let's start down our list. This is early April. Anti-Trump protests take place all over the world. So around early April or so, there were massive protests all over the world, protesting Donald Trump and Elon Musk, all these different tariffs that he's implemented and enacted. I actually got an email from a vendor that I bought from one time, a jewelry store, online jewelry store. And they were like, hey, this is just to let everyone know that our prices are getting ready to go up. I've even seen some ads like that. They'll be like, get it now before prices increase, like basically before the tariffs kick in or whatever. And I just find it so disgusting for so many reasons. One, because people don't seem to understand that all these tariffs affect us, and we pay the end price for it. These other countries don't pay the end price for it. We do, but they just ignore that fact and move on. But here's what bothers me the most and what will bother me in the future. They're going to raise their prices to accommodate for the tariffs, right? But once that's over, because it will end one day, they're just going to leave their prices where they are. They're not going to bring them back down. And that's why I hate this place, because it's like it's not real. Like I feel like we're being gaslit in so many different areas and in so many different ways, and that's one of them. So like if a company raised their price from $10 each to $15 each to cover the tariffs, and then they just hold it there for however long the tariffs are enacted or in place. Once the tariffs are gone, they're just going to leave it at 15. They're not going to bring it back down. They're going to leave it there and go up from there. And so it's kind of like, I wish we lived in a real place is what I'm saying. I wish we lived in a real place. I've spent a lot of time, especially as I was driving back and forth between places, just listening to different videos and different takes on the tariffs and things. And the group that has been most affected, it seems, by these and will be most affected, are his supporters. Like his supporters are taking hits left and right. Their farms, they're losing their farms, family farms, businesses that they've worked for, all kinds of different stuff. They're being heavily impacted. Some of them have snapped out of the spell, but a lot of them haven't. They're just like, oh, it's got to get bad before it gets good. Like the delusion, the lies, like as a society, our society operates off of so many delusions and lies. And the fact that we've lasted this long is actually surprising, because if you've deluded yourself into believing losing your family farm is what it takes to save the whole country, then I'm not sure what to tell you. I feel like you're a danger to yourself. You're not only a danger to us, you're a danger to yourself as well. And I did a video about that once called, what was the name of it? Like narcissists don't care about your basic needs, or narcissists don't care about themselves, so don't expect them to care about you. It was something like that. And it's true. If they don't have enough sense, and I'm not speaking about just them, I'm talking about narcissists in general. If they don't have enough sense to protect themselves and protect their children and protect their families, then of course they're not going to protect you. They don't even have the good sense to protect themselves. They probably should not be loose and free in society, to be honest with you. They're always talking about taking away someone's voting rights, in particular women. They love to threaten to take away women's voting rights when your voting rights are the ones that need to be stripped, because you're a danger to yourself and everyone around you. Everything you do leads to destruction and chaos. Every decision you make seems to lead to destruction and chaos. So you're the one whose voting rights need to be stripped. Like, it's stunning. Like, it really makes me sympathize and empathize with those countries that have been taken over by like terrorist organizations, and like the terrorist groups are running the government and every aspect of life in that country. It makes me feel for them at a very deep level, because I think we can all honestly say we know what that feels like now, to be taken over by a hostile entity that is on a collision course with complete destruction. So his people are being impacted the most by all of this, because you have to understand and remember, a lot of Trump supporters are extremely poor. And and I don't know why those things go hand in hand. I really don't. I don't know why you wouldn't try to support people who are trying to help you out of your situation. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But protests took place all over the world. I think articles of impeachment have been filed. It would be very nice to actually see those come to fruition, but who knows? And he's already talking about a 2028 run, already getting the merchandise prepared for it and everything. So it kind of tickles me, because it's like he's just decided, I'm never leaving. And he seems to me like the type of narc who's probably also decided that he's never dying. He's just decided against it. He's decided, yeah, I'm not doing that. Dying is for regular people, and I'm not regular. So I'm just going to keep living and keep being king, basically. Um, he seems like the type who fights death, you know? Like, every now and then on my YouTube feed, I'll see a video from a nurse who works in like hospice care facilities, and they talk about like the different things that happened. And I can't always watch it because it's just a little bit too dark for me, but every now and then I'm able to watch. And one that stands out in my mind is where she was saying how some people resist death with everything they have. Like, they're super sick, there's no hope for them to recover, unfortunately, which is why they're in hospice care, but they fight like hell. They fight to stay on this side, almost like they see what's on the other side for them. And they're like, oh no, I'm not going there. I'm staying here. She says some people fight and then other people just go gently and peacefully. So I think that's interesting. And Trump seems like the fighting type. He's like, no, I refuse to die. So anyway, let's see. I'm going to get all my conversation about him out of the way because I don't want to talk about him after this. Now, this was interesting. Or I think actually the White House, I don't remember who posted it. Either he posted it or the White House posted it, which I don't know if y'all have seen the tweets coming out of the White House lately, but it's so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Like, it feels like our country is being run by a bunch of childish, immature, selfish teenagers. Like, somebody let a bunch of teenagers into the White House, which really is kind of an insult to teenagers, to be honest with you. But adolescent, like something that has not fully matured, has been allowed into the White House. And now they're trying to be like edgy and like try to, you know what I mean? They're trying to like, ugh, I can't even explain it. They're trying to like be edgy and like cool. And you are the White House of the United States of America. Grow up. But there is no growing up. Like, we're in a permanent state of immaturity right now. And it's kind of fascinating for me because I sit back and I'm like, wow, we literally devolved, like, which makes me believe that evolution is actually not natural. This might be a different topic, different channel, but it leads me to believe that things naturally improving is not a thing. Things seem to naturally actually devolve, at least when it comes to human beings. Humans seem to get worse over time unless something upgrades them. So I feel like we're overdue for our upgrade or something, and without it, we devolve into this. You see what I mean? Like, this is how empires fall. This is how countries fall. Like, we're watching the fall in real time. So it's kind of like, how does that happen? Like, what type of organism stands by and allows their house where they live to be destroyed? I don't get it. Why would you do that? Why do you want your life or anyone you know's life to be bad? Why wouldn't you want your life to be good? Why wouldn't you reach towards like better things? Instead, you reach towards things that make your life actively worse and other people around you. I don't understand that, especially when you consider that this might be the only life that we get. You would allow someone or anything to threaten that? I can't deal. But anyway, um, the White House or Trump or both posted a picture of him as the Pope, an AI generated picture. And this was shortly after Pope Francis passed away. And believe it or not, his followers and his loyal supporters actually called him out for it. Like, I didn't realize how seriously Catholics take their religion. I'd never really looked into it that deeply, to be perfectly honest with you. Oh, they take that very seriously. They don't play about that kind of stuff. They don't play about that kind of stuff. And he posted himself as the Pope and actually put it on the internet. And they were like, I can't do this. They're like, I voted for you, but this I can't do this anymore. Like, this is too much. You've gone too far. And I'm like, wow, look at that. They're actually holding him accountable for something. Unbelievable. Stunning, even. So he has no respect for anyone. Everything is a joke to him. He has no reverence. He has no class. He's an extremely classless human being. And I would bet you any amount of money his house is dirty. Now, I know you guys don't believe me. And I know your first thought would be PTE, he has money. So there's no need for his house to be dirty because he can just pay people to clean it up. I'm telling you what I know in my soul. His house is dirty. He might have certain rooms in the house that are clean, in particular rooms that like he entertains guests in. So the guest bathroom might be clean. The living area or the entertainment area might be clean. But where he sleeps, and I'm not talking about the White House necessarily, but what I'm saying is wherever he hosts himself and hosts his body, like at night when he's not working or whatever, it's filthy. I'm telling you, it's dirty. He's nasty. He's a classless, disgusting human being. But here we are. Yes, Melania is nasty. Oh God, she's probably nastier. She probably has housemaids quit after they attempt to clean up after her. I suspect she's filthy also. She's probably filthier than he is, actually. But anyway, moving on. I think I've got everything I needed to say about him out of the way. Well, actually, let's cover this real quick. So they actually, oh, she's filthy. I have no question, no question about it. So they did elect a new pope. And what's interesting about this pope is that he is from Chicago. Well, actually, he's the first pope to be elected from the United States of America, which I didn't even know was a thing. I assumed all popes lived, what is it, in Rome? Wherever the chapel is, wherever the primary headquarters is located. I assumed they all lived over there. I didn't know they could come from somewhere else. But it's the first pope elected from the United States of America. He's from Chicago. And MAGA is big mad about it. Why? Why do you ask? Because he has empathy and he is a kind-hearted person. And because he's called them out, I haven't had a chance to really write down like everything he said, but I'm going to try to find something really quick. He has called them out for the way that they've been behaving. Okay? And oh, he even has a little Twitter account. How cute is that? Um, I'm trying to find something he said to them. He called them out though. He called them out on something, and they don't like him. They think he's too woke, too liberal, too fill in the blank. And primarily, he's just like the previous pope, who calls for people to take care of the homeless, take care of the sick, the shut in, the unable, physically, mentally, whatever, women, children, babies, being a decent human being. And the Vatican, that's what it's called. Where is the Vatican though? Is it in Rome? Being a decent human being and the godly human being that the Bible that they claim to read calls them to be, and they don't like him because of that. So I love it. Everyone loves it that they're so triggered over a pope. Like, come on. Like, these people have no lives, man. They're bored and they're also dumb, and that is not a good combination. They're bored and they're also lacking intelligence. Those two don't mix well together. But yeah, they're mad. They're mad at the new pope because he's a kind-hearted soul. Imagine that. I saw a comment earlier that said demon possessed. They are demon possessed completely. I've seen so many tweets that people are like, when I was younger, I couldn't understand how the Holocaust happened, how Germany could have been taken over by this man. And they're like, but now I see it. Now I understand how it happened. Like, the human is so easily recruited. That needs to be studied. Like, the human mind is so easily manipulated and recruited into all kinds of stuff. Like, it's not just all this political stuff. Think about all the different cults that have taken place over the years, or that have been in existence over the years, the different things people did for their cults, and things of that nature. Like, the human loves to be in a cult. Like, if I were a space alien studying human beings, I would write in my little notebook, the human seems to love being in a cult. Odd. Study more, observe more. Like, it's a strange thing, but in not a group or a community. They love being in a cult, meaning the human loves somehow and for some reason to like give up all of their autonomy, give it over to someone of greater power and authority, and then do horrible, wicked things under the direction of this person who is of greater power and authority. That seems to be what the human being likes for some reason. It's very strange. And the only way they ever snap out of it is when they realize that they actually have a right to like things like consent. They have a right to an opinion. They have a right to a preference. Pretty much the whole basis of my entire channel, permission to exist. Like, they discover inside, like, oh my God, I'm a human being and I have the right to make decisions about my own life because I'm not a child. When someone is a child, yes, their parents are going to make decisions about their life to a high degree. But as that person becomes an adult and becomes emancipated, basically, that's the part where it's supposed to take over and they're supposed to then start making decisions about their own life. But there are so many full-grown adults who are more than willing to hand all those decisions over to someone else. And then fear that person, and in that fear, do all kinds of crazy and usually illegal and dangerous things in an attempt to please this person who they've given their life over to. Why does the human being like to do that? What is it about people that makes them want to do that? It's very, very strange. Chat says, the world is full of vipers and snakes trying to take out loving, kind people who speak truth and justice. Look what the Pharisees did to Jesus. Nothing new under the sun. I mean, all right, y'all are taking me down a deeper path. We're going because this is our first show in the new house. I have had to literally train myself to be a meaner, nastier version of myself in real life, in particular as it relates to work. Oh, yeah, some of y'all just joined. There was a big announcement at the start of the show, and that announcement is that I finally, after many, many years, bought a freaking house, man. So, ooh, yes, we'll talk about it. We'll do a separate show for that. But I've had to train myself to become a very ugly version of myself, one that I don't like, one that I don't naturally default to, one that I actually try to avoid being because I would never treat someone that way on purpose, but I have to treat them that way on purpose because what I came to realize was they have no problem treating me like that on purpose. Thank you guys so much. It's a long time coming, man. Long time coming. Good Lord. And many of you have been through the journey with me. So, yeah, we'll do a separate show on it. But these people had no problem treating me horribly on purpose. So, why do I have a problem reciprocating that? Because it's not who I am, because it's the wrong thing to do, because we want a better society. And what good is a society if you treat me bad, so I treat you bad? So now we're just two people treating each other bad. That doesn't make society better. All the different reasons that I've given myself over the years. But as of late, I have just simply decided, you know what? Anyone who has no problem treating me horribly, what you're telling me is that's how you like to do business. See, I'm a businesswoman first and foremost. I am a Capricorn after all. And we are all about business first. I'm a businesswoman. So when you show me that the way that you like to interact is ugly and nasty and mean and petty and rude, I go, oh, they don't like professional behavior. They like unprofessional behavior. So allow me to give that to you. They don't like treating people kindly. They like treating people poorly. So let me return that to you. And it's hard because it has to be a conscious decision. I have to consciously make that decision because my default is kindness. And I have to be aware of that because if I'm not thinking or if something is happening too fast, I'll default to who I really am, which is a kind person. I have to actively be nasty. And y'all, I'm here to report and let you know that I'm getting better at it. And it's becoming more fun. Oh God, it's becoming more fun. I really believe the source of a lot of depression is simply unexpressed feelings, emotions, thoughts, opinions, whatever. Unexpressed, you fill in the blank. I believe a lot of depression comes from that because I'm telling you, when I gave it back to my boss actually earlier this week, I was on a high. I was so high off of that I almost did a show that night, but I knew I wasn't ready. I didn't have my thumbnail ready. I wasn't ready. But I had so much energy, I could barely sleep. And I was like, is this why you're tired all the time? Because you don't tell people what they really need to hear in terms of you need to basically cuss them out without using curse words, basically. It was brilliant. Like I've lost the fear of getting in trouble or punishment. To hell with your trouble and to hell with your punishment. I don't care anymore. I'm tired of living in fear of these people and coddling them and letting them think that they can just continue to treat people however they want to treat them and there's no consequences. No, there's consequences. And I know I flamed her out, baby. I wouldn't be surprised if she strokes out. No offense to those of you who've been affected by strokes and things of that nature, but I know that she was so angry that I finally talked back to her, basically, that she probably had to go take a Xanax to calm down afterward because you're not used to your pet talking back to you. But it felt great, and I look forward to doing it again because it's just like, here's my philosophy, and I feel like I may have told you this before, but if not, allow me to share it this evening. If they're going to treat you like shit anyway, then you might as well give them a good reason. And what I mean by that is you're kind, you're professional, you're respectful, you don't talk back. You just kind of go with the flow and just whatever. You're passive and they treat you like shit because you're afraid that if you talk back, get disrespectful back, interrupt back, get rude back, you're afraid that they'll treat you like shit. But they're already treating you like shit when you're being kind, gentle, peaceful, rational, reasonable. You're already being all of those things and they're treating you like shit. So, what I'm trying to say is the outcome is the same. So, if the outcome is the same, well, she's filled to the brim with plastic, so that probably will happen to her, baby girl, but that's a different conversation. Um, but she's filled to the brim with actual plastic in her face, but whatever. If the outcome is the same, then you might as well say what you want to say. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Like, if someone is already has such a low opinion of you that they're treating you like shit and they have no problem doing so, then you being all nice and sweet is not going to make them treat you better. It's not going to change their opinion of you. So if you're going to hate me, let me give you a good reason. Let me at least let you put your finger on a reason that you hate me. Because right now you can't put your finger on it, can you? You have no reason to, which means you're a psychopath, but that's a different conversation. You're nuts. You know it. You know you have no reason to treat that girl that way, but you do. Oh, she almost cussed you out the other day. Now you're actually mad for real. Now you have a reason to hate her. Do you see what I'm saying? If the outcome is the same, you might as well go for it. That's all I'm saying. If it made a difference, if you actually, let's say you started off mean, rude, nasty, disrespectful, whatever, so they didn't like you, but then you started being nice and then they started being nice to you. Okay, well then that means that the change in your behavior changed them. But if you present both sides of your behavior and the outcome is the same regardless, then why should you bottle up all those emotions and all that energy? You're just swallowing it and putting it into your body to get stored away somewhere. Let it out. They're gonna still feel the same way about you. The only difference is now they'll have an actual reason to. So anyway, I'm all down the rabbit hole, honey. I'm all over the place. Let's talk about, what do I want to talk about next? Let me see. Let me check the Q&A really quick to see if anything came up in regard to any of that stuff. Interesting. Okay, we'll cover that in a second. All right. So we'll just go over this really quick. So this was funny. I think this happened earlier April. Tesla asked Elon Musk to step down because basically he has destroyed their brand. He has destroyed their brand. And I think it's hilarious. It's nice to see somebody stepping in to act like an adult for once. And it's almost like the adults finally came back to the room and said, okay, we need to bring an end to this. But they're asking him to step down because he has literally destroyed their brand. And I think we talked about this on the last time we met, last live stream. And it's true because I know a couple of different people with Teslas. And if someone had asked me out of these three people, who is the least likely to sell their Tesla ever, I would have pointed to, I'll just call him person A. I would have said, oh, person A, he's never getting rid of his Tesla. He loves it too much. He's all in. He's a Tesla fanatic, not an Elon fanatic, but a Tesla, the car and what the car can do or whatever. He'd never get rid of his Tesla. He called me the other day and told me he sold his Tesla. And I was like, really? I was like, are you having a midlife crisis? And he was like, no. He was like, no. It was funny to listen to him make all the excuses because I asked him, I said, is this because of everything with Elon? He was like, no. He was like, it's just because like when I need a repair, like you have to wait for the appointment and like, went out of town the other day. I had to stop 4 times to charge up, and like all these excuses. And it made me laugh because I think he forgets how much he used to go on and on and on and on about his car. Like, I used to ask him so many questions. He had no problem telling me, showing me, educating me. He was like, if you ever decide to buy, this is before Elon lost his mind. He was like, if you ever decide to buy one, let me know. I'll go with you. Like, I'll be like your consultant. Like, he was so completely psyched out about his car. Completely. Like, I never would have thought in a million years he would have got rid of his Tesla, but he did. And what I think he doesn't want to admit is that he sees the writing on the wall, and he sees that the way that things are going, in a couple of years, he's not going to be able to sell it probably for $5,000 or $6,000. And I believe he paid upward of 60,000, 65,000 for it. He knows in 5 or 6 years he's not going to be able to sell that car. So he went ahead and got rid of it. So, so it's happening in real life. I know a real person who actually got rid of their Tesla. And out of everyone I know, I never would have guessed in a million years he would sell his car. But he's smart, and he knows that they'll be worthless in a few years. Hold on 1 second, somebody was texting me. So, let's see. So that's that. I thought that was hilarious. I wanted to talk about this story with you guys. Let me see if I can. Oh, I do have it pulled up. Let me pull it up and drag it over. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. It's good to see you guys again. Good to see you guys. I promise, unless, barring any extenuating circumstances, I won't leave completely without telling you first. I promise you that, if I have control over it, obviously. And I hope I would, because there's only one scenario I'm thinking of where I wouldn't have control over it, and that's not good. So, barring any extenuating circumstances, I would never leave forever without telling you first. So just know that. So no matter how long the gap in time, I'll be back unless something major happens. So let's just hope that's not the case. I wanted to talk to you guys about this, and I'm actually going to share my screen for this one as soon as my computer cooperates. So let's hide that. Boom. Okay, so we all remember this guy, right? This is the gentleman who chat says, my friends picked me up for a live jazz dinner date in a Cybertruck on Saturday. It's an amazing AI work of art, ugly on the outside though. I couldn't agree more. Like, I hate the finish on Cybertrucks because I feel like you'd never be able to keep it clean. But it looks really cool. Like, I like that they're trying to give us something new, but why does the leader of the company have to be a Nazi psychopath? Allegedly, I guess I have to say. So we remember this gentleman. This is the gentleman who was allegedly unalived by Luigi Mangione. Okay. And I saw this and I was like, I cannot wait to discuss this with my folks. United Healthcare sued by shareholders over reaction to CEO's unaliving. The group of investors alleged the company misled them by not adjusting its forecast after Brian Thompson was unalived. A group of investors sued. Let's try that again. A group of investors sued United Healthcare Group on Wednesday, accusing the company of misleading them after the unaliving of its CEO, Brian Thompson. The lawsuit in U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, which seeks class action status, accuses the health insurance company of not initially adjusting its 2025 net earnings outlook to factor in how Thompson's unaliving would affect its operations. On December 3rd, the day before Thompson was unalived, the company issued guidance that included net earnings of $28.15 to $28.65 per share and adjusted net earnings of $29.50 to $30 per share, the suit notes. And on January 16th, it announced that it was sticking with its old forecast. The investors described that as materially false and misleading, pointing to the immense public scrutiny the company and the broader health insurance industry experienced in the wake of Thompson's unaliving. Wow. The group, which seeks unspecified damages, argues that the public backlash prevented the company from pursuing the aggressive anti consumer tactics that it would need to achieve its earnings goals. As such, the company was deliberately reckless in doubling down on its previously issued guidance, the suit reads. So, what this is basically saying is they are accusing United Healthcare of not properly pricing their shares after the CEO, the former CEO, was unalived. And the reason I would share this with you at all is just to remind you that you could be the CEO of the company, unalived in a very public way on the street, and all they care about is their stock price. Because I'm guessing what they're saying is the stock price should have gone down to adjust for the fact that shareholders will be like, oh crap, that's not good. Let me sell off my shares. But instead, United kept the stock price at what it was and did not account for this very public unaliving of its CEO. So in other words, they didn't factor it into their equation, and the shareholders lost money, I guess. So I just want you guys to take that PTO, take that vacation time, leave early for that appointment, go to your kids' recital or their game, soccer game, cheerleading championship, do it all. If your dog or cat has surgery that they need to be home and kind of monitored for, take the time off to stay home with your fur baby and monitor them, because they don't even care if the CEO is unalived by another person. All they want to make sure of is that you properly adjusted the stock price afterward. That's what I want you all to take away from this. Like, it hasn't even been, well, maybe it's been 6 months. It hasn't been a year though. Like, and the shareholders are upset that their money was affected by all of this. Can you believe that? By the way, I actually think Luigi is innocent, and that's not because of all the fanfare around him. But the more I think about it, I'm like, that was way too specific. Way too specific. Like, and way too specific. I feel like this was a business matter that went wrong, and somebody that he knows, that the former CEO knows, took that hit out, and they pinned it on this guy, Luigi. That's my personal opinion, though. Hopefully, he'll get a fair trial. But that's just my opinion, because I'm like, that's way too specific. And then you got this elaborate story of healthcare and all this behind it, and you're pinning. I'm not buying it. Oh my God, they're back. Wow. Y'all must be on the mailing list. By the way, there is a mailing list. Join it to be notified anytime I go live. I'm going to put y'all in timeout, okay? Because y'all come here and y'all act like you don't know how to behave. So we're going to time you out, okay? You're getting timed out. You keep showing back up for some reason. Let's see. You got to learn how to behave, okay? You come here and act very poorly on multiple occasions. So you're timed out. All right. So I wanted to share that with y'all. Y'all need to know that. So the next time you're feeling guilty about taking time off, remember that the shareholders are suing because their stocks weren't properly priced after the CEO was unalived. Okay. So what else do we have here? Oh, this guy, George Santos. He's the guy in the lower left-hand corner here. He was like what was he a senator or a congressman? I don't remember. But he got sentenced to 87 months in prison for federal fraud charges, y'all. And the reason I include this here is because I do like to infuse you all with hope and joy at least once during the show. And it's just very, very, I guess, pleasing to me to actually see one of them face consequences for once. Because so often they don't have to face a single consequence ever for anything that they do. What was he? He was a U.S. representative for New York's 3rd Congressional District. He was sentenced to 7 years and 3 months in federal prison. He was convicted on wire fraud and aggravated identity theft stemming from a series of fraudulent schemes. All these people are scammers. The richest people you know, I would say, I would estimate somewhere between like 70 to 80% of them are just scammers, just sophisticated scammers. Um, and a lot of their scams are backed by the law. So they're not doing anything illegal under the eyes of the law, but they're scammers nonetheless. This guy, for whatever reason, I can't remember how he first came on my radar, but he creeps me out in ways that I can't even explain to y'all. There's something creepy about this dude. And I can't pinpoint it, but I'll put it to you like this. If I were, oh, and we got another one, unless you're being sarcastic. John Dinsmore, are you being sarcastic or are you being serious? While you answer that, if I were a director, a movie director, or a casting director, and I needed to cast like the perfect psychopath for my movie, I would choose this guy. Once he gets out of jail, of course. Because look at him. There is something about him that like screams run. Okay. Oh, you're being for real? Oh, bless your spirit. Okay. So we're just going to go ahead and time you out, baby. It's unfortunate. I'm going to time you out too. Okay. Something about this guy gives me the heebie jeebies. And I don't know what it is. I can't, I cannot put my finger on it. I just feel like he's like beyond a serial killer. Like whatever lives beyond the serial killer is where he's at. But that's not relevant. That's just a personal opinion. He freaks me out. He creeps me out. And if I were ever going to cast like a psychotic serial killer in a movie, I would cast this guy because there is something so dark about him. There's like, he seems like never mind. There's something so dark about this guy. But I guess to some degree, I was right. He may not have ever taken anyone's life per se, but he's a scammer. Hold on one second. So anyway, there's that. He got 7 years in prison, which I mean, what a rise and fall. He got elected to House of Representatives or whatever, had a very brief political career, and then now he gets to spend 7 years in jail. So very strange, but it happens. A lot of these people are extremely unethical. I think they don't really believe in ethics. I think they believe in mercilessness, meaning whatever it takes, they'll do it. Whatever it takes. That's what I think they believe in. So that often gets them caught up for different crimes and things. So let's move on. Let's move on to one of our favorite segments in the entire show, which is I want y'all to be careful on these airplanes, okay? So there was a full All flights were grounded at Hartsfield-Jackson International the other day for some technical error. I think, what was that, Monday? It was either Sunday or Monday. It was recent though. All flights got grounded. And I think the story that stood out the most, it was originally on the thumbnail, then it just didn't work visually. But a group of passengers had to hold the plane together with their hands to help, I guess, help the plane not fall apart while it landed. So let me see if I can find that picture. Yeah, here it is. So let me share again. And I just, I think the reason that this intrigues me the most, the reason I focus so much on air travel, is because to me, it's the ultimate report card. It's the ultimate report, kind of like where we are as a society, how well our different systems are operating and interacting with each other, because it is so reliant on logistics and timing and all of those things. Air travel is, and precision and being precise is so reliant upon all of those things that when it goes well, it's kind of a good report card. Like, hey, we're doing good. You know what I mean? Everyone is aligned and on the same page is what that tells me. When things like this happen, that tells me there's a misalignment somewhere. And we've already talked about this earlier in the year, so we're not going to recap all the reasons that this is happening, but it's just so very, oh no, I'm sorry you have a flight in the morning. I'm sure it will be fine. I'm sure everything will be just fine. Okay. Just be willing to help out if you have to, right? Like if you have to hop in there and hold the ceiling together, just do it. Just do it. Okay. Just do it to make sure everyone gets there. Air travel is one of the last remaining hopes I have in society, even though I'm not personally a huge fan of it. The fact that we pull it off at all, I find to be amazing. So we're still doing it. We're still running these planes all day, every day. Luckily, super bad incidents are rare, which is good. But this is also kind of just, it's a report card of where we are as a society. Like if our planes are falling apart and people are having to hold the ceiling together, we need to look at that. We need to revisit some things. Okay. So yeah, like sometimes I just wonder, like, are we trying to do too much as a society, or are we not doing enough? Like, are we trying to run all these planes and fly all these planes everywhere? Are we trying to do too much, or are we not doing enough? Is that the problem? Is the problem that we actually don't have enough planes, enough pilots, enough flight attendants, and enough maintenance crew? Or is the problem that we're trying to just like do it all and do too much? Oh, another one that's got to go. Something is wrong with y'all. You're not well, and I hope you get the help that you need. Let's go ahead and put you in timeout. Boom. Um, I have a funny story about that. So the chat says, I don't even like sitting in the emergency exit row because I don't want to be responsible. So anytime I fly, I have to take Dramamine because being on the plane makes me very, very seasick. It gives me motion sickness really, really bad, like really bad. So I take Dramamine to offset that. But one of the side effects of Dramamine is that it makes you very drowsy and very, very sleepy. So I had an exit row seat and the Dramamine was already kicking in. So I was already dozing off. I was buckled in. I had my bags tucked under the seat in front of me, had everything I needed. I was set and ready to go. And the flight attendant was like, ma'am, are you able to perform the duties you need to perform if you have to, jump into action? And I looked at her and I said, well, no, I'm on Dramamine and I'm kind of drowsy. And I cannot remember if she made me get up or not. I can't remember. I feel like if she made me get up, I would remember that. I feel like that would stick out in my mind. But I think she let me stay because I think the guy next to me was like, it's cool, I'll get it or something. I don't remember how that ended, but I remember having that conversation with her and she was like mad. And I'm like, well, don't you want me to tell you the truth though? Like, Do you want me to say yes and I'm under the influence of this medicine that makes me very, very drowsy? Do you want me to tell you the truth or do you want me to lie to you? So I remember her having an attitude because I was like, well, no, not exactly. But I don't remember how it ended, which is unfortunate. And there are days where I am concerned about my memory. I'm concerned because I'm like, why don't I remember the end of that? Maybe because I was on Dramamine and I fell asleep shortly after. I think she let me stay. I'm pretty sure she let me stay. But anyway, she got mad at me though. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to, girl. I'm on Dramamine. Leave me alone. Um, so anyway, I lost my train of thought telling that story. So let's just move on to something else. Where are we? We've covered almost everything. Okay, let's get into like some celebrity news. Let's get into some celebrity news. So we're off all the politics and playing stuff and all that stuff. And I think we'll end here and then I'll answer you guys' questions and then we'll get out of here. So for those of you who know who he is, Tory Lanez got, am I allowed to say stabbed on YouTube? Got, I'll say assaulted with a knife in prison. Now, the reason this is significant and the reason I would bring it up at all on this channel is because we often talk about sick and dangerous men on this channel. And the reason Tory is in prison in the first place is because he, do I have to say allegedly still? Because he got convicted for it. That's why he's in prison. So I don't have to say allegedly, right? He used a firearm in a manner that ended up injuring the foot of Meg the Stallion. And the reason that I bring this up at all is because once again, and actually same thing with Halle Bailey and her boyfriend / father of her child, is that a woman was harmed and immediately people start attacking and tearing down and dragging women as a result. So once again, the woman, Meg got hurt in the foot. I don't know, because I don't know if I can say the SHOT word. I don't know if I can say that. She got hurt in her foot as a result of what Tory Lanez got convicted of. He got held accountable for it and put in prison. Then he got hurt in prison and people are blaming her, the woman who got injured in her foot. Similar to what's going on with Halle Bailey and her boyfriend, DDG. She got a restraining order put on him because of how he conducted himself around her and their baby. Allegedly, he smashed her head into the steering wheel. Allegedly, he took her phone and threw it out the window. And there was one other thing he did. I can't remember. But as a result of all those things, she filed for a restraining order and was awarded it. And now it's like the incel mating call. It's like the sick male mating call. Anytime a woman takes action to protect herself and protect her children from a dangerous man in her life, it calls all these sick men out of hiding and they go on the defense for the men who are being held accountable. Now, does Tory Lanez, I'll just say shooting Meg in the foot, mean that he needs to get shanked up 14 times in prison? No, those two don't go hand in hand. We would actually prefer a world without violence, but this is what happens. It's unfortunate. I mean, he lived, so there's that. But it's the fact that it reopened the wound for them because, of course, they're already upset that he's there. They feel like he's not supposed to be there. So with that, because they feel like he's not supposed to be there, they're particularly upset that he got hurt in prison as a result of everything that happened with Meg the Stallion. Similar to Halle Bailey and DDG, which I think so many of us were disappointed when she got with him in the first place because he's kind of a nobody. And this is a girl who was really, I mean, she's drop dead gorgeous. She was on the rise, like her star was rising. And then the same thing happened to her that happens to a lot of women. Their star is rising. You don't have to be a celebrity. You can be a regular person, but your star is rising. Some guy sees that, gets jealous, and tries to basically slow down your progress, try to prevent you from reaching that next level. Very true. Chat says a restraining order won't stop a dangerous man, unfortunately. And that is the truth. But it's so sad because it's like now she has to deal with this man in some capacity for the rest of her life. They share a child, you know, and he is forever attached to her and forever has access to her, forever has an avenue to her. She forever has to talk to him. Even if it's only about the child, she has to continue to keep this man in her life. There is such beauty in being able to dismiss somebody from your life and have nothing to do with them afterward because you don't have any ties like that with them. Like the thought of being tied for life to some of my exes makes me want to cry. Like I feel like I would lose my mind actually, knowing that I have to interact with you. I can't fully disappear. Maybe after the kid turns 18, but even then, if you're the kid's parents, there's still always that permanent tie. Because if, for example, God forbid, something happens to the child, you and him have to come together again to rally behind your kid. And I don't want anything to do with you anymore. I don't want to talk to you anymore. So it's kind of like, it's so tragic and so sad that this is the case. But here we are. And the reason I bring it up again, because we don't get into too much pop culture over here. We really don't. We probably should though, more. But is because of what it's bringing out. Like this is all Twitter has been talking about all day long, is how shocked people are watching men defend other abusers. And what that tells you is a lot of the men defending these abusers, they relate to them. They understand them. They they see eye to eye with them. They understand why the man did what he did. They understand why the man smashed her head into a steering wheel. They understand why the man took her phone and threw it out the window. As a matter of fact, y'all, I'm watching, a friend of mine put me on a new Netflix show. Well, it's not, let me rephrase. The show is not new. It's new to me. It's been out for several seasons. I'm just late. She told me about this show and said, you should watch it. It's called You, Y-O-U. Anyone else watch You? And if so, don't spoil it for me. I'm only on season 3, okay? But anyway, the main character, without giving away any spoilers, is a guy who is normal except for one small problem, which is he meets a woman and then he fixates on her. And then as a result of that fixation, not so good things happen afterward. And that's what I'll say to try to preserve it for anyone who actually wants to watch it themselves. But I text my friend after season 1 and I said, why does this guy remind me of almost every man I've ever met? Not in terms of necessarily how they dealt with me, but in terms of how they think. I was like, I think a lot of guys actually think the way this character does. And she was like, what, like a delusional sociopath? I think you might be right. And I'm like, are all men out here deluded like this? It's very fascinating from a psychological perspective, y'all. So if you want something that's interesting, kind of a crime thriller, but with a heavy psychological component to it, like if you want to see inside the mind of a disordered male, you should watch that show. It's called You, Y-O-U. It's on Netflix. Because it showed me like the driving thought process behind so many of their actions. They see a woman, they instantly fall in love. It's instant, y'all. Instant. They see a woman, they instantly fall in love with her. They essentially begin to stalk her. And a male friend of mine was telling me about this the other day in passing, because I was telling him, oh God, it's such a long story, but I was telling him how this guy that this guy who I guess we had a thing going on, if you want to call it that. But anyway, I was telling him how it all started, and I was like, he would just be in the most random places that I would be. And he's like, oh, yeah, we do that on purpose. This is what my male friend told me. He said, oh, yeah, we do that on purpose. He was like, so if you're bumping into him at the grocery store or at the gym or bumping into him here or there, he was like, trust and believe that that was intentional. He did it on purpose. And I was like, well, no wonder it felt that way because it was intentional. I'm like, I feel like he's trying to put himself in my line of sight. So I'll see him and be like, oh, hey, and like talk to him and like interact with him. He was like, oh, yeah, we do that on purpose. So anyway, he actually reminds me of this guy from this TV show, You. I was like, oh my God, this reminds me of this man. Anyway, he meets the girl, falls instantly in love, fixates on her, starts stalking her, and then things happen from there. And because I don't want to give it away. But this is what's happening. And I feel like when situations like with what is happening with Tory Lanez or Halle Berry and DDG, it pulls these men out of the woodwork. Because one theme I think I can tell you without giving the show away is that a lot of them pedestalize these women. And she's a total stranger usually, sometimes not, but sometimes a total stranger. And he makes her this perfect girl in his head. And it's like when she does something outside of what he believes to be his perfect girl, it sends him spiraling, basically. He starts crashing out. And when I tell you that I think I've experienced that, not only in dating relationships, but I believe I've experienced it in friendships. And I believe I've experienced it actually also in the workplace, believe it or not, where they have this idealized version of you that they've created in their head with no input from you other than existing. Then when you act outside of this mental framework that they've created about you, it causes them to lose their shit because you are not behaving the way that they've envisioned that you would in their mind. It is sick, you guys. It's crazy. Like, oh man, it's so good. So good luck to Halle. You know, I hope she has a strong support system around her. And I hope that she's able to keep herself and her baby safe. And we'll leave it at that. So with that, let me come over here to the live Q&A. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So the first topic that you guys wanted to talk about. Could you please cover the woman receiving close to $1 million after being recorded calling a 5-year-old Black autistic child the N-word? I've heard about this. Before I give my thoughts on it, there is a girl working to make sure she never receives a single dime of it. And the way that she's going about that is by contacting the host of the platform that's hosting the money. And I believe that ended up being Square, but don't quote me on that. But basically, they have policies against this kind of stuff. Like you can't raise money for hate speech or like criminal acts and things of that nature. So she's actively working to make sure she never sees a dime of it. And I think that's fantastic, actually. And I hope she's very successful. And I wish I remembered the payment processor name, but I think it might be Square. But if not, I'm not sure. But if you can support that effort, please do, because it just is really incredible. Like living in this country often makes me feel so sorry for my ancestors. Because if you look at what we're dealing with today in 2025, can you imagine what they were dealing with when slavery was active and legal, and what they were dealing with shortly after slavery was abolished and they were freed? Like, it makes me feel so bad for them because they were never able to see the days that we can see. Even though we're still dealing with these psychopaths' grandchildren and great grandchildren, we still have much more freedom. There's still a good chance one of them might go to jail if they try something stupid, if they break the law. So, and yes, there's still all those issues with inequity in the law and things of that nature, but there's still hope for them being arrested and going to jail if they hurt you. Our ancestors didn't have that hope. But I say that to say, dealing with situations like this, it's just so sickening to know that we live around these people. We live amongst them. And I think personally, the more dangerous ones are the ones who aren't stupid enough to out themselves online and put themselves out there and expose their racist, hateful ideologies, which is a sign of low intelligence, by the way. But it's the ones who don't do that, the ones who are quiet about it. It's scary. To answer your question, or to kind of address the question, it's frightening to know that we live around that many people who are that hateful in their heart and who keep reproducing and having children and passing down those hateful ideologies to them. That's sad. Like, the MAGA children of today are nothing more than the hateful adults of tomorrow, you know? And it's like, how do you ever grow out of that? How did we temporarily grow out of it in like the 80s and early 90s? For a brief moment in time, we were okay as a society. Brief, very brief. How did we do that, and how did we lose it? Where are all of these sick people coming from? Why does their mind not function at a higher level? Is it genetic? Is it biological? Is it chemical? What's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? I don't know. But it is very disturbing. Just, it's sad for the child. I hope that he's okay. I hope someone has started a fundraiser for him and his family, because I'll donate to it. But like, why do we live in what's wrong with them? What's wrong with them? You know? That's what I wonder about. Those are the things that cross my mind. Just the fact that they're so alive and well. It's like they're not happy unless they have someone to hate, which makes you an extremely weird person. Like, extremely weird. You're not happy unless you have somebody to hate. That's weird. Like, do you feel that small inside that you have to have some sort of external other to even feel like you're alive? You need help. They need help, but they're never going to get it, and we're never going to get relief from them. And that's kind of where I am now. I'm like, these Nazis are not going to go away. The strength of their hatred is too strong, and we don't hate them enough in return. We don't. We just accept their presence, and we accept the fact that they're here and they're not going anywhere, and we've just made peace with it. So if we're choosing to make peace with these psychopaths, what we need to do is develop a long-term strategy for how we're going to survive the next couple of decades with this many mentally unwell people around us in our society. I asked my friends, I was like, isn't this the part where another country is supposed to step in and help us? Isn't this that part? Like, I thought that they were supposed to come help us at this point. Like, where are the airplanes? Where is the ground movement? Like, or are they just going to let this go on? Because even other countries are learning that America has become a dangerous country because of all these crazy sick people in it. They have countries advising people not to travel to the United States for many different reasons, including ICE going crazy and deporting or detaining citizens and things of that nature. Like that I couldn't even include all of that because there's just so much going on with it. It's insane. So other countries, on top of ICE acting like complete lunatics, you have the violent crime, the racism. They're telling their people, don't go there. America is not a safe place to be, especially for foreigners. Don't go. So it's like, at what point does the international community step in to help us? That's all I'm asking. At what point does that kick in? Because I feel like we're there, but I don't know. So that's how I feel about that situation. Make a long-term plan for how you and your family and your kids are going to stay safe, in the presence of such deeply unwell people, because it's clear that we're either not going to do anything about it or we can't. So they've won essentially. Their hostile takeover is complete. So we are in an occupied country. So now that you know that, what is your plan to keep yourself and your family safe from these people? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's all I got for that one. Um, Chat says Apple to begin implanting chips in humans to connect them to their iPhones. I would say anyone stupid enough to do that deserves any consequences that come with it as an end result. If you let Apple put a chip in your head so you can be better connected to your cell phone, you deserve any and all consequences that come with that. I hadn't heard about that though. I hadn't looked into that. And then the final question that came through, will you talk about flying monkeys and how they further traumatize you by invalidation? And what is the best thing to do? Oh, well, the answer I'm supposed to give you is just like keep your head up and, ignore them and just do your best to pretend they're not there. But the advice that I'm going to give you is utilize flying monkeys. They're very useful. Once you've identified someone as a flying monkey, well, first, let's address the invalidation first. So they further traumatize you by invalidation. And what's the best thing to do? The first thing to realize regarding invalidation is that their opinions are not valid. So they can't invalidate you because their opinion is not valid. And typically their opinion is not valid because they don't have all the information. They're stupid, they're ignorant, but they operate as if they know everything. So try not to let their opinions affect you because their opinions are not valid. And their opinions are based on partial truth and partial realities. So basically, you're basically dealing with a person who has no grip on reality. And so that should be enough to be like, you know what, your opinion actually doesn't matter because you're not even connected to reality. So you're like a computer that's not connected to the internet. So your opinion kind of doesn't matter. So there's that. But flying monkeys can be very useful if you know how to use them right. If you know how to use them correctly, if you can't get away from them, that's always going to be my first piece of advice. Get away when you can from these people because they're draining, if nothing else. They're very exhausting. But if you can't get away from them, you use them. They're flying monkeys after all. So you can plant a seed in their head, knowing that they're going to take what you told them back to whoever and basically spread your seed, if that makes sense. So since you know they're out here spreading seeds anyway, you might as well get them to do your bidding for you. So for example, at work, let's say that there's something you need to happen and you know for a fact they won't do it for you, but they might do it for someone else. You plant that seed in the flying monkey's head. You just make sure the flying monkey doesn't think it's for you. Then the flying monkey flies off. They go back to their leader. They share what they've heard or what they've known, whatever. And the leader thinks it's a great idea because it's coming from the flying monkey. Boom, you get what you want. Or if you want to be particularly impish, you could just plant a seed with the flying monkey that is not true at all and just send them spiraling and just watch the fallout from it. Like flying monkeys can be very, very useful. You can send threats through flying monkeys. For example, you could tell a flying monkey, I'm thinking about going to HR with this issue. Now, you may have no intentions on going to HR at all, but the flying monkey will go put the others on high alert. And then maybe they'll stop doing whatever it was that they were doing that made you tell the flying monkey that you were thinking about going to HR. You understand what I'm saying? So think about your flying monkeys differently. Think about them as extremely useful entities. You just have to think about in what ways can I make them useful to me. But I'm not supposed to tell you that. I'm actually supposed to tell you, keep your head up, smile, maintain a positive attitude, and everything will be okay. Chat says, PT, have you watched the new season of Black Mirror? Not yet, but I am going to. As soon as I'm done with you, YOU, as soon as I'm done with that, I'm going to watch the new season. Is it good? Do you like it? Like, is it as good as the previous seasons or not so much? What are your thoughts? Well, with that, you guys, I think we've covered almost everything. I got all the questions. I appreciate every single one of you. I intend and hope to be back soon, especially now that I have a little bit better layout. And I'm hoping that some creativity will be freed up in me and my creative blocks will be opened up a little bit. And we can get back to making like regular, real content. Okay. And we may or may not continue these. It all depends. I feel like when I start these series, which is essentially a spinoff of the news break, but I feel like nothing really happens. It's only when I stop doing the news break or stop doing this that everything happens. Like that's what started the January show. So much happened that we had to cover it. But then I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep up with this on a regular cadence. It's like, the world is kind of peaceful. It's like, why you don't want to give me content? But anyway, we'll see. Everything is possible. It's all up in the air. Ooh, it says it's wild. A lot of predictive programming. I'll check it out. It's on my list. I reactivated my Netflix for now. But with that, I hope you guys take care of yourselves. I hope you've been doing well. And we will talk again very, 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 very soon. Okay. Take care. Bye.